Hey, everybody, and welcome to a breaking news episode from EV Essentials. This is an unusual thing for me. I've not done it before, but I am so thrilled to announce that Volta Trucks have been purchased out of administration by Luxor Capital. And Luxor were already an investor, so that's good news. They're a business that know Volta well, and it's given them a lifeline for this game changing vehicle within the commercial vehicle sector, designed to be safer, more efficient than many other trucks on the market, and with this innovative central seating position. It would have been a terrible shame to lose this vehicle from the market, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Carl-Magnus, whose brainchild it was. Carl-Magnus, welcome to you today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to be with you.
Yes, joining all the way from wintry Sweden.
Right. Lots of snow.
Lots of snow, which is one challenge, but I know that this must have been for you as the founder and the person that had this brainchild, must have been a really challenging time. How do you feel now, but also how did you feel in the moment where things went into administration? Can you contrast those feelings for me?
No, of course, I feel good about that. The story of Volta Trucks is not finished 6 weeks ago. It will be not an easy journey back, to put it that way. And of course, when the company went bankrupt 6 7 weeks ago, it was like a shock, I must say. Of course, for me, but I think for everybody else in the company. And honestly, if I look at comments on LinkedIn, etc., also for a big part of the market, even the competitors have reached out and said, we wanted you there because you were one of the in the forefront of this transition. And even the biggest people in the industry, I think most want electrification and sustainability to happen, but it's obviously more difficult if you have everything legacy. You are basically operating in the diesel world. It's not an easy transition. And I think for some of them, we have been a little bit of a leader. So I think that has been a lot of goodwill coming back from all stakeholders. So that is, of course, a much more positive situation today. As I said, will not be an easy journey back, but still positive.
But like you say, it is great news, and I suppose the contrast to this is, of course, and again, we've seen reports. People have reached out to me from my post on LinkedIn to say, but it's not good for everybody. So there's still 600 is the number that's been quoted, but a significant number of people that don't get to come back. What's your message to those people? Is there hope for them, or what's how do you feel about that?
Well, I think, of course, lots of people have reached out to me. I've talked to several of them, etc. And firstly, yes, I think short term anyway, it would be a much tighter company, much smaller.
Mm.
If we were 800, 850, it's probably not even half of that coming back over the next few months. But I think everybody I've spoken to, maybe they are nice to me, but uh, people are saying, even the ones not coming back, that this has been a fantastic experience, and more or less thank you for bringing us along. And I think anybody, and I've said that, I mean, joining a startup is always a risk. Yeah?
Mm.
But I've said from the beginning, that this transition, electrification of vehicles, of commercial vehicles, etc., this will happen. I think it will be one of the bigger trends over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Sustainability is obviously something all of us need. So if you're in early, if you learn basically when at the start, I think honestly, almost everybody had joined the company, even if they are not part of the rest of the journey. I think they have learned a lot. I think if they leverage that, it will be a big asset going forward. So I think that that has been, I mean, an interesting part, but I also think they have accelerated their knowledge and their competence. So I hope they see it that way, and that the industry
Mm.
sees it that way.
And I think from being in events right as it happened, I think the EV World Congress, no, EV Summit, EV Summit. There's lots of EV somethings going on at various times around the world,
Right.
but the EV Summit in Oxford, Aid Thomas gave a big shout out to the people from Volta. There was a number of people from Volta in the room. Um, and I know that the industry looks at people that have come from Volta, come from this experience, and would be very very keen to speak to them. So I know that as they reach out in the UK, I'm hoping, and from your experience, from my knowledge of these people, they're very valuable people and would be snapped up, hopefully very quickly. So here's hoping for that.
Yeah.
Um, so what does all this new investment mean for Volta now? What are the next steps? What do the next 100 days look like, for instance?
Well, of course, I mean, in a bankruptcy, there are lots of pieces broken, basically broken up, in different pockets, etc. And I think the next 100 days or something like that is really has to be spent on trying to put the pieces together. There is a supply chain to take care of course. There is a manufacturing part. It's revitalizing discussions with customers and so on. There's a number of things that, it's not like putting on and off the light switch. You close it down for 6 weeks and then you fire it up. It's more complicated than that. And that's a big task. It's a big task. I think the biggest
Mm,
task is really giving people confidence. Obviously, all the stakeholders around the company, uh, um, confidence or trust that rebuild the trust in the market, rebuild
mm,
the momentum,
mm-hmm,
and that's both internal and external, obviously. Yeah? So I think that's the next foreseeable future. If that takes 100 days or a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, obviously, hopefully shorter, but that's probably the big task, short term. No, and then after that, this is, as we all know, it's not, it's a investment heavy business. Um,
mm,
we have invested about 460 million into the business, euro, so far. It's probably needing another 200, 250, maybe up to 300 to come to cash flow positive. If you look
mm,
at it from an investor's point of view, it's whatever that is, it's 70% rebate or 60% discount or whatever it is. But it will also require some time. Um,
mm.
so yeah.
It's a challenging thing, isn't it, when we're doing this from a non-legacy point of view. So legacy has its advantages in that it still has an income. You can get money for selling the diesel products, and even some of the new electric products, you can get them out quite quickly to market. Is that the biggest challenge, getting to a place of revenue so that you can get big, or are there other things that maybe? Because what I'm thinking about is if you could rewrite the book, what would you write differently over the last sort of 12, 18, 24 months? What would you have done differently that maybe would have avoided this? Can you see that yet, or is that something that's will come out over time?
I think a lot is a matter of timing. Huh? I mean, you have market development timing or whatever you call it. yeah, adaptability to everybody knows that electrification will happen. Then what's the right time to launch? What's the right time to come to the market? So there you have to try to fit basically
Mm,
the market acceptance and development. Then if you're a startup and in this league where you need, as I said, maybe 460, maybe another 250 million,
mm,
uh, that is very much a financial markets. How do they look upon risk? How do they look upon return, short term and long term? We know we have been for whatever 10, 15 years in almost a zero interest rate
mm,
scenario. So obviously, money had, in principle, money had less value, return expectations. So, uh, but that has changed quite dramatically since whenever February, March of last year. Uh, I think if we would have raised the D round as we were busy with 24 months ago, it would have been relatively easy if we were at the same development stage of the company. Now we raised it when interest rates was shooting up.
mm,
When we started, or say 18, 20 months ago, I think the US rates were at 0.25 and they peaked or whatever, somewhere north of 5%. Normally we talk inflation 10% is a high inflation,
mhm,
but this is what, 2000% or something like that. So that changes the whole financial environment. And could you can you learn something from that?
mm.
Maybe in the way of you should take as much money as you can as quickly as you can, so you're a little bit safer in a way,
Mm,
or your longevity is you can stay longer without coming to revenue. On the other hand, you also can say, okay, should we have done it slower? You know, spending less money, taking longer time to do it, etc.
mm,
And that's very difficult because you're not starting to make money before you produce trucks and sell them.
mm,
So that's what you want to come to that position as quickly as possible, in principle,
mm,
which means that you are burning more money
mm,
faster. So I don't really see there that slow walking this would have made it any better for us. Um, then, yeah, of course, there is always when you look afterwards that you could have done some things more efficient and maybe spending a little bit less money on certain things. But on the other hand, we have had, as you know, probably before I've talked to you about speed and scale.
mm,
Speed coming to the market and showing that these trucks work. And for that, you need to have the full supply chain there. You have to start producing trucks, etc. The sooner you get there, the sooner you can start getting orders and have a real business.
mm,
And scale has been a little bit the idea that if we want to have an impact, um, then it's no use to produce 10 or 20 trucks. I mean, 10,000, 20,000 is where you start having some impact. And I've said it before, I mean, the best from an impact point of view is we prove to the big guys in the industry that this can be done, that you can operate with electric trucks. So they move a little bit faster than they would have done otherwise. And I think partially, if I look on the success side, I think partially we have had some of that impact on the market. I'm not sure that the big OEMs had come as far as they have if we hadn't been there. Even if we haven't produced trucks, we have basically, initiated some discussions, initiated that our customers probably went back to them as well and said, we talked to these Volta guys and they said they can have a truck in our hands in whatever,
yeah.
in 12 months' time. What's your timing? And so on. So I think it's from an impact point of view, of course, we love to see the trucks on the road and doing all these things, but I think already we have had some contribution on the market.
I would agree entirely, Carl Magnus. The landscape 2 years ago, for me, if I looked out across it, and I've obviously, I'm traditionally focused on the van, the smaller commercial vehicle, but Volta really captured my imagination from the first arrival to the market, with this innovative middle seat and like low entry, and it was safer but also efficient, and a decent payload. All of that good stuff. And I looked at it and I compared it against what else was out there in the marketplace, and there wasn't really a lot. And there was an expectation that the large truck manufacturers would take some time to get here. But I think you're right. I think this has always appeared, which is why the big shock, right? It's always appeared like this would be a success story. For me, I would have kept my money firmly on Volta right to the point where it was like, oh no. But I'm so pleased that this is a potentially a phoenix coming back out of the ashes. We mentioned revenue there. When can we expect? When would your hope be that we'll see some of the Volta trucks in the hands of some of your big customers like DB Schenker? Hopefully they will have not gone too far away from you, and a couple of others that I know that you were working very closely with. Hopefully they've hung on. When can you hope to see some on the road?
Well, there are choices. Basically, how quickly do you want to come? There is also this what they call GSR2 coming up in the middle of next year. So the trucks that you have to certify them for new regulations, and that is playing a factor.
I
Should you
see.
start producing before that on the old ones, then you cannot continue selling the same or producing the same trucks. Should you wait afterwards? And it's also, of course, a lot hanging on this reassembly. I think that maybe optimistically, somewhere there, second half of next year, maybe Q4, early Q5, or early Q1 2025, somewhere there, I think it's realistic to start seeing trucks in the hands of customers. Actually, before that, we had started what we call a pilot program. So really, the customers had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to
Yeah.
try them in their own operation. That I think everybody would like to see as soon as possible. Uh, and
Yeah.
and that was part of of course, convincing of the customers this is a vehicle that our drivers like, that works, and so on. So all that, it's very difficult to put a date on it, but somewhere there, I would hope it's in the market.
We'll take that, and listen, it's good news to hear that the pre-production models, or the pilot models, the vehicles that you've created, will still have the opportunity to be in the hands of customers. From the feedback that I've heard that in the marketplace, the responses from different people, that has been very, very positive. I.e., can we buy this one? We'll buy this vehicle. Don't take it away, kind of thing. Which is brilliant news, right? And it's exactly the right thing. So I guess, Carl Magnus, this has been a really interesting conversation, and I kind of I'm wondering how really I should have I should have got a BBC presenter to do this, because I'm just me, right? But I'm grateful for your time. I know that you've been a great leader and a mentor. What is your hope for the market? Tell me what you would like to tell the market, and give us what you would like to see us do in response to this good news.
Well, I hope that, and I think so. I mean, we could not move this market alone in any way. I mean, we would still, in the most successful, be a relatively small player in this market. I hope that the bigger people uh, accelerate their efforts.
Mm,
Why did we choose the sort of distribution? Because I think it's low hanging fruit in the marketplace. Uh, most of the big OEMs on the medium and heavy duty trucks, their bread and butter is the long haul.
Mm,
So that they figure out how to organize that as soon as possible. I hope that will happen. A lot of the customers and of course the customers of the customers, the cargo owners, have ambitious targets when it comes to CO2 reduction and sustainability. But trucks alone will not make it. We have to follow with electrification. In our case, it's often depot, sort of charging in the depot, and these customers, they are often clustered. So whatever it is, they are next to each other. All of them, many mainly saying that they want to have at least their distribution fleet 80% electric in 6 years' time. If
mm,
everybody is saying that at the same time, it's not only a fatter cable because there is nothing to come to the cable, and it's a lot of infrastructure development and so on. So, and that's what we try to do in what we call TaaS, or truck as a service, is really helping
mm,
the customers with that conversion. And then there is a very big financial need, financing all these new vehicles and the charging infrastructure, and PV or solar has to be part of the mix. It's also an investment cost and so on. So it's it's a big challenge to get all the components together. But I think there is lots of goodwill as well. Everybody I've spoken to over these years want this to happen. A lot of people don't know how to do it because and, there hasn't been the demand before.
mm,
Somebody with ambient transport, their electric need will probably go up with 20, 30 times if they want to fulfill these targets. So there is
mm.
challenges around, but of course, as an entrepreneur, challenges is what you live and breathe. So I look forward to it.
Well, and that's a great note to finish on because I know that any entrepreneur worth their salt are looking for problems to solve. That's how you explained to me your vision back from 2016, I think it was, when you saw the Tesla models and you thought, hang on, isn't there something else we can do? Isn't there a problem that we can solve? And Carl Magnus,
Exactly.
you've been committed and dedicated to solving this problem for us, and you've been a trigger, a protagonist in the marketplace by causing others to do the same. And I know that if there is other problems like power and kind of making all of this thing work, then Volta and or both Carl Magnus will be somewhere in the mix, sorting it out and giving us a solution. So Carl Magnus, it leaves me just to wish you and the rest of your team the very very best over these next 100 days as you put the jigsaw piece back together. And I know that you'll do it, and I looking forward to seeing feedback from the customers that are going to continue with these pilot projects. And thank you to Luxor for stepping in and putting their money on Volta and continuing with their investment and their faith in you guys and your business. So again, thank you for your time, Carl Magnus, and hopefully you'll get a lot of good feedback from this this session.
Great, Paul. Thank you very much.